Paulo Antunes, ESPN Brazil. I'm very curious to get your thoughts on what happened after the game. I'm sure after you had such a great game, kind of pop star status there. Did your phone really blow up? And was this the greatest moment in your career so far?
I mean, I got a lot of messages, but I don't know. It didn't really feel that way. I mean, my family's here. Just hung out after the game, spending some time, quality time with family, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Was there any type of interaction with fans? I don't know if you went out after the game or.
No.
No, nothing. Just went okay. Because I would imagine if you would have gone out, it would have been probably pretty cool.
Oh no. Yeah, no. Just hanging out with family and you know.
Right side in the back.
Pascal, there's a small but passionate Cameroonian community here in Toronto that we're obviously celebrating that game last night and your performance in that game. You're kind of, I mean, you talk about how there's two countries involved, but for you, I mean, there's more than two countries involved in this. I mean, do you know much about the Cameroonian community in Toronto? Have you?
I don't know much about the community in Toronto, but I mean, I know, you know, I definitely have a lot of support from my fellow Cameroonians and just Africa in general. I mean, it feels great because we always know that, you know, Canada and especially in Toronto, you know, the diversity is incredible, and you have people from different countries and you know, and all together just cheering for one team, and obviously having that support is amazing.
Second row, second row, excuse me, right side to Mark.
Pascal, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Draymond Green's been up here a few times, asked about you, and you know the way he put it, he said he's become a guy in this league. And last year, I would have never predicted that he would have done what he's done in this league. He went on to say, "I got to take him out of this series, and that's on me." First of all, can he take you out of this series? And what do you think of the fact that you are now a target as far as Draymond Green, former Defensive Player of the Year?
I think for me, just going back, you know, man, watching the film and you know, looking at ways I can get better, and you know, obviously, you know, they're gonna make adjustments, and it's definitely I got to be ready, you know, to whatever comes at me, and I think all year just. That's something that I've always done, you know, kind of adjusting and getting better as the day goes on. And I think, you know, that little playoff experience and knowing that games are going to be different and things, you know, you're going to have different looks that maybe you did first game or whatever, you know. For me, it's just about adjusting.
Left side, fifth row, Doug.
Hey, Pascal, Doug Smith, the Toronto Star. Can you talk about the impact that Marc Gasol has on you when he's on the defensive end with you, and how much it allows you to roam free knowing he's there to sort of back you up?
I can't find you, Doug. But...
Way back here, Pascal.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
all right. Yeah, I think, you know, definitely, you know, former Defensive Player of the Year, a guy that, you know, high basketball IQ. And I think, you know, it's always sort of kind of comfort when he's on the floor with us. And he's so smart and reads the defense, and also he's able to move and kind of protect the rim for us a little bit. And you know, I think it's definitely great to have him on our team, and a guy like that, a vet that's been, you know, he's been through it. He knows a lot of things, and just talking to him, he always, you know, trying to help me be in the right position and things like that. So he's definitely helpful.
Right side, fifth row on the end.
Hey, Pascal, over here. Adrian Gabriel, City TV. As you and your team have climbed into the finals, more and more fans are learning about your personal story, your journey. Wondering what you can share for a fan base, you know, about your journey, about your rise, and what has led you, you know, through adversity to the seat where you're sitting today.
I think, you know, in terms of adversity, man, like I went through something that I consider, you know, the hardest moment of my life, you know, when my dad passed away, and, you know, I was in college and just kind of like away from my family, and I mean, thank God I had the support of my teammates and coaches in college, you know, that helped me go through it. But it was definitely one of the toughest moments in my life, and not being able to go home for the funeral and all that. So it was definitely a moment where, like, you know, kind of tested me, you know, as a man, and just being able to go through that and for me, using that, you know, as a motivation and something that's going to push me to do better things and for my family and for myself, for my dad. You know, I think that was like kind of like a turning point in my life, just going through that type of adversity, and you know, it kind of definitely made me the person I am today.
Left side, fifth row to Josh.
Josh Lewenberg, TSN. Pascal, after Game 2 against Milwaukee, you called that sort of a learning moment, the game you fouled out. What did you take from that game and from maybe the series as a whole going up against Giannis that has allowed you to grow as a player even on the fly here during the playoffs?
I think it's like I always say, man, like I always try, like I learn a lot, and I know I have a lot to learn, and I think that's one of the advantage for me, just not thinking that, you know, like I know I have so much to learn, I have to grow, and it allows me to look at my mistakes and evaluate them and trying to see how I can do better. Obviously, you never know. I mean, you get fouls, and you know it's in your head, and a lot of things like that. You just got to be smarter, and that's something that I try to do. You know, just being like a little smarter and learning every single night out there on the floor.
Left side, third row, Connor.
Connor Letourneau, San Francisco Chronicle. Pascal, Steve Kerr has compared you to Draymond, says he thinks you're kind of a young Draymond Green. Do you see that parallel at all? And is Draymond someone that you've kind of patterned yourself after in any way at any point in your career?
I think, you know, like I always say, man, I try to be myself as much as I can, and that's always something that I've done, and even just starting to play the game and learning about the game of basketball. Obviously, I watch a lot of different players and guys that do different things. But for the most part, man, I try to be myself and kind of work to be a better version of myself.
Final two questions in the middle, on the left-hand side, Bruce.
Right here, Pascal. Bruce Arthur, Toronto Star. We've talked a lot about how in the second round you saw a lot of Joel Embiid, especially when you got in the lane, and then conference finals you saw Giannis and Brook Lopez when you got in the lane. Did you notice there was less kind of not only size but rim protection in that Golden State defense, and how much did that allow you maybe to do some different things and some of the stuff you're more used to?
I think the one thing that I noticed, you know, just I was out in transition, you know, it kind of felt like you know, because that's always something that I've done, you know, all year, and I think that was like kind of like the first time during the playoffs where like we kind of got in transition a lot, and just I was you know, running and you know, it just felt good. But I don't know, I think just taking whatever defense gives me and whatever is there for me.
Final question, left side, second row, Mindy.
Thank you. Hi, Mindy Bach, ABC 7 Sports. Steve Kerr had said that Toronto's Raptors' speed, especially in the transition game, reminds him of his own team, of the Warriors. Do you see the similarities between the two teams?
I don't know. I can't really tell you. But I think, you know, something that we did last night that was good is transition. You know, we was out running, and that was definitely good for us. In terms of similarities, I don't know.
Thank you.
No French questions? What's going on?
not that we were able to get to today.
Come on, huh? Bien sûr.
J'aimerais juste savoir, Pascal, comment est-ce que tu penses que les Warriors vont tenter de s'ajuster justement à ton jeu pour le deuxième match?
Je pense que c'est une équipe comme les Warriors. Ils ont gagné, ils savent ce que ça prend pour gagner, et on sait qu'ils vont revenir et essayer de faire des choses différentes et avoir plus d'énergie. Donc je pense qu'on doit être prêt pour ça, en fait. Ils vont essayer, ils vont venir avec une urgence, pas comme celle du premier match, donc on doit être prêt à ça.
When you got down to Orlando, I imagine that was probably quite a bit of a wake-up call, and then you get down 2-0, obviously, in the last series, and that's an even bigger, enormous wake-up call. Do you talk to your guys now about just reminding them that a 1-0 lead, especially in this NBA where it seems like everybody can come back from them pretty easily across the league? You're seeing it now more than ever before. Do you remind them that 1-0 isn't any reason to relax?
I think we've tried to do a conscious thought process of not really caring what the score of the series is, right? I think we know that the games are really hard, and we know that after a win, the team that gets beat gets really determined. They try to fix things, and mostly, play a lot harder and more physical and all those kind of things. And for us, we just had a lengthy film session. There was plenty on there that we need to do better if we want to win another game in this series. So we've got to fix those things and get ready to play a game and treat it as a game, one game.
To follow up on that, when you lose a game, obviously it's very easy to have that hunger. How do you replicate that when you come off the highest of highs just 12 hours ago or whatever it was?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard to do, right? But your goal, your stated goal would be to try to treat each game, no matter the outcome, the same from a learning standpoint, and get serious and dig into the problems and try to come up with some solutions.
Left-hand side, fifth row, John.
Coach, I'm curious as to how much you talk with Kyle, maybe in film sessions, about helping off the strong side corner. His tendency to do that seems to lead to a lot of the drawn charges that he gets, but it can also lead to an open three. I'm curious, does he have sort of license to make that call by himself?
Yeah. He's a very instinctual player. And a lot of plays in the game out there. There's so many things going on are more instinctual probably than they are some unbelievable design, right? So he's reading his. We always say know your personnel, and if there's a problem, try to go fix it. And he's really good at that. Really good problem solver on the help defensive.
Do you have rules against that? Otherwise, for other guys on the team?
I don't know if they're rules. They're ideas. They're ideas, yeah.
Right-hand side in the back, Greg.
Hey, Nick, I don't know if this is something that guys in the locker room are aware of, but it seems that the passion for this team is just spreading right across the country. I know we talk about this being Canada's team, but now cities across the country they're creating their own Jurassic Parks where thousands of people are gathering to stand outside and watch these games on a big screen. Is that something that's trickled into the locker room? Is there awareness of that at all?
I mean, not that I hear talk about. I think you'd be probably asleep or something if you didn't realize that everybody's pretty excited. Right, to the extent the excitement's reaching out and all that. I mean, it is the first time, right? And I think any team that goes through this the first time has a abundance of energy about their team. It's again, we are really like once we get inside these doors, our offices and locker rooms, we get the film running and have our meetings and try to start talking about the basketball, and you don't feel much of it. But listen, it's great. I think it's awesome. The city is obviously electric. I think it's great for everybody that's visiting to see, and they're proud of their team, and we want to play hard and make them proud of us. That's it. We just want to give a great effort, and I think that's they can get behind that.
Left side, fifth row on the end, Scott.
Nick, Scott Stinson, National Post. Over here, Nick.
This guy.
The defensive intensity at the end of the Milwaukee series was really good for you guys. Do you feel like you had the same sort of defensive aggressiveness last night that you've talked about all playoffs long and needing to get?
We did at times. I mean, for the most part, I think I think we played with good energy and effort. There's certainly some. There's always some breakdowns or things you'd like to do a little harder. a little better, a little bit more ball pressure, a little bit more when there's a mistake, somebody covering up that mistake as quick as possible than somebody covering up for that guy who just covered up for it. But, you know, again, it starts, your defense has to get set up, and this team plays really fast. And even when you score sometimes, you probably remember we scored a bucket and they threw it ahead to Thompson and he went and did a reverse layup down there at the other end. So it's coming at you. So the challenge effort-wise is first starts with transition. And we got to try to make them play against our 5-man defense, because then we think we're pretty okay. You know, we're in a good chance to at least, for a starting point, be able to guard them the way we want to. And that was the same in Milwaukee, right? It was really like, come on, let's make them play against our set defense.
Right side, 5th row on the end.
Hey, Coach, Adrian with City TV over here. There's been lots made about the step that Siakam has made in the last season, but when you look more big picture at a player who, he's been playing organized basketball for less than a decade, how remarkable is the performance you saw last night? And have you ever seen anything like it before, considering that he's only been playing for 7 some odd years?
Well, I've never seen anything like that before, right? I mean, that's a pretty big stage for a guy to put that kind of performance on, almost with any background. And I think, you know, you've alluded to his background of, you know, it's been a pretty short run for him. But I think, I talked about this last night after the game when I was asked about it. He's been given a God-given ability of having a big engine with lots of energy that enables him to play with a certain speed, athleticism, and it enables him to work very hard every single day. That motor he's been given, he's using that to the best of his ability. He soaks up things, he takes them to the court, he works, he takes care of himself. He's really got a burning desire to be a very, very good player in this league. And I give him all the credit for that, for using those abilities to the best that he can.
Left side, 3rd row, Connor.
Nick, Connor Letourneau, San Francisco Chronicle. Steve said that he sees a lot of similarities between how you guys play and the Warriors. He sees some of the Warriors in you. Do you see those similarities, and do you think the Raptors have kind of used the Warriors in any way as a model? Obviously, they've kind of changed the way the league has played in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, you know, that they have changed, a couple things on each side of the ball. One is obviously the great three-point shooting attack from very deep, the great ball movement and cutting. I think when people watch them play, coaches watch them play at any level, they watch them and they say, man, we'd love our team to play offense like that. Spread the floor, cut like crazy, everybody touches it, make quick decisions, and bomb in a lot of threes on top of that. And then defensively, I think they've been given credit here, you know, I don't know how many years ago now of becoming a team that switches a lot. And I think even since I got in the league, it's only been 6 years. 6 years ago, nobody was playing that way. And now almost everybody seems to be playing, you know, switching 1 through 4 at least, or having a coverage for your 5 or whatever. So they have definitely left a stamp on basketball in this league.
Let's go to Josh on the left side, 6th row.
Josh Lewenberg, TSN. Nick, following up on Pascal, I mean, normally the summer is when players have the time to really put in the work and add to their game and improve, and clearly Pascal did that. But throughout the year, you've talked about how he seems to be taking leaps during the season, taking things, adding, adjusting, and now doing it again in the playoffs. How hard is that to do, to grow on the fly like that? And in your experience, how rare is it for players to be able to do that?
Well, I think, let's talk about the summer first of all. I think, you know, every time I would see him, every couple weeks, it just seemed like he had another bit of presence about him. Part of his game was growing, but even just the way he was attacking his workouts, or I'd go watch him play a scrimmage game or something, he just looked better to me almost every time. So that's, you know, that's him just, again, believing in his work. You know, that his work was going to pay off for him, and he'd take that to the floor. And then during the season, that's what it becomes. It becomes play a game you know, some of our coaches, man, they get a lot of credit for this, right? They watch him play a game. They sit down and watch the film with him. They take it to the practice floor about some adjustments, and then it shows up pretty quickly in a game coming up. That is some great learning by the player, and that's some great teaching by, you know, Phil Handy and Adrian Griffin and Nate Bjorkgren and Sergio Scott. These guys are putting these guys in position to be successful. So I think again, give the kid the credit, man. He's worked his tail off. I think you and I have talked about this a bunch, that you kind of had this unbelievable start, and you thought for a young guy that's starting and scoring and this, that you'd see some type of maybe, you know, can he keep this up? And then we'd say, geez, he looks like he's getting better, and he'd make another jump forward. And then the three ball started going, you know, maybe 20 games in, he started making the three pretty consistently. And then you're thinking, well, is he going to tail off after the All-Star game? And he'd make another step forward, and you say, okay, the playoffs come. Can he handle it? You know, so he just keeps his work ethic and his mindset just keep building for him.
Final question, right side, fourth row, Mike.
Hey, Nick. Mike Gander, the Toronto Sun. Steve was in here yesterday, and he was talking about the lack of control that comes with the finals. Like, you lose any routine that you would have been in before, you get taken out of just because of everything around this. How impressed were you with the way your young guys, in particular Pascal and Fred, guys like that who haven't been here, handled that yesterday?
Well, I think it was, you know, certainly a question going in. I think there always is a little bit like, excuse me, it seemed like going to game one at Milwaukee, we were really wondering how we were going to handle the emotional high from just 2 nights earlier, that buzzer beater to win the series. And I think, you know, you talk about how fortunate we are to have a bunch of guys that have played deep, some guys that have won it all, and some guys that have played really deep, Mabaka, Gasol, you know, Green, Leonard, and then you're saying, well, what are these other guys going to do that haven't been here before? They did a good job, right? They played, they went for it, they played fearlessly, right? And they attacked, and I thought that's what they needed to do.